You gave a presentation here today. What are the key points that you touched on?
Thanks for having me on. The key points are the following. I believe we're at the end of a grand economic cycle and central banking cycle. The bottom line is M2, money supply growth year over year for the first time since 1930 has gone negative. And that happened only 5 times, including this one, since 1868. Every time this has happened, there's been a serious panic in the financial markets, especially the banking system. We also have other signposts of something's going on. We have federal reverse repos at $2.5 trillion, which is sucking money out of private entities that usually would lend. We have the dollar going up at the same time oil is going up and commodities, which normally speaking in the normal frame of reference hasn't happened. And we're just seeing signs and anomalies that something is going on in the system that indicates we might be closer to the end of the global monetary system, which means change is coming, something like a CBDC. It's also concerning we're going into a deep economic recession. My firm, Finance Technologies, has predicted a recession along the lines of the savings and loan crisis. If it's systemic, it's going to be a depression, so we don't know that yet. So it's going to be at least a very deep economic recession, and then perhaps a depression if the system loses control. The other thing that's going on is we have had 3 bank failures recently. Silicon Valley Bank, Silver Lake Bank, and Signature Bank, and Credit Suisse. And this happens seemingly out of nowhere. And just to know, when M2 money supply goes negative, it's usually followed with bank failures. So we had M2 go negative in November of 2022, and now we have bank failures. So there's something going on in the financial system that I'm worried about that I think bodes poorly for a lot of things. Doesn't mean the end of the world, it just means change is coming. I also think that unfortunately, for control of this new system, we might see more war talk and potential actual wars occur over the next 5 years. So it's a perilous time, but at the end of the day, we've gone through these cycles before, and I hope that coming out of this next cycle, we're able to stem the tide and change humanity for the first time ever. We need to get out of this system. The central banking system is a war system.
But isn't, when you say a central banking, meaning global or U.S.?
All central banking. Central banking based on debt, fiat, currency is a war system, because in order to keep the system going, you have to inflate or die. Generally speaking, wars are very inflationary, and they seem to culminate after a great deflation, which sets societal forces into play which cause wars. So it's not necessarily that the wars are caused by the central banks. The wars are part of the system of the central banks.
Do you think that the U.S. might have to go to war, or would want to go to war, when the politicians would like to cleanse to make be able to spend what they'd like?
Well, they already have. I mean, COVID was a war, so we just saw a war. They spent unprecedented amounts of budget deficit on relief, and then the Fed printed unprecedented amounts of money. That was very inflationary, as we now know, and that inflation has failed, and inflation's coming down, and we're now seeing a credit crisis, which will turn deflationary. So to keep the fractional banking system alive, you need to reinflate. And if the only way to really do that is probably with a war of some kind. Not on purpose, but that system will lead us there, because this deflation will cause countries to pit themselves against each other.
Well, what do you think people who have retirement accounts ought to do in the wake of potential inflation?
Well, inflation's going to be on the wane. Inflation's coming down. We're going deflation now. Deflation means financial assets go lower. I've been telling people to go to cash equivalents like treasury bills and wait for the storm to pass and buy a lot lower.
What about all this initiative to buy gold that we're seeing on TV?
Well, gold long term is not a bad idea, but gold will go down with other commodities. So gold, I suspect, and I could be wrong, I think gold will go down. The end of the dollar system is, I think, overhyped at this point. So I predict the dollar is going to go up over time and then gold will go down. But then eventually gold will be something you want to have in your portfolio. But I don't think near term it's something that's going to be a hedge against stock markets going down and other asset classes going down.
Do you feel that there are globalist powers that are trying to damage the U.S. economy?
Certainly we have adversaries. We have people that want to introduce new systems of control, like the Chinese Communist Party, the World Economic Forum. These people are kind of psychopaths, in my mind. They tell us we'll own nothing and eat bugs. That's a joke as far as I'm concerned. So, anybody who's selling that is certainly selling something that I'm not buying.
But China is looking to hurt the petrodollar and change it to the Petro Yuan.
Yeah, good luck with that. The system is so ingrained in the dollar. It's talk at this point. It's going to take a long, long time for them to do that. And as far as corrupt as people think the U.S. is, we are nowhere near as corrupt as China and Russia, and no one trusts them. So this is all talk. It's a concerning trend and alarming that they're speaking so openly about it, but it's not going to happen overnight. The way the system's built, the dollar is currently 90% of all foreign exchange transactions on the other side of the trade. So it's not going away anytime soon.
You're concerned about social control through digital currency?
Absolutely. Social control through digital currency is a technocrat, bureaucrat's dream. You're able to control the transaction from end to end, and you can societally move people where you want through the carrot and the stick. And that takes away free will. I'm about freedom and liberty. It's a slave system as far as I'm concerned.
Isn't Canada imposing things like this? And in the UK, I think they made an announcement. What was the announcement that you showed?
The announcement in the U.S. is, which one?
The fellow from the international...
that's Bank of International Settlements. He's talking about CBDCs in theory. So yeah, the UK is trying to do one. Canada is trying to go that way. We're not going to let it happen here in the U.S. We're just not. No, we're not. I'm not. I mean, I'm not going to comply. So it's all about complying. I mean, are we going to allow this or not? And if you allow it, good luck. You're in a slave system.
Well, but this whole concept of 15-minute cities,
that's insanity. I'm not. Look, at the end of the day, we the people get to decide where we're going with this. And this sounds purely insanity. You're locked into your little 15-mile radius. You can't drive your car beyond it. You can't shop beyond it. Because they've said that we're the problem, a human being is a carbon footprint. This is all control. The climate change issue has been hijacked by control freaks. And whether or not we need to protect the planet, that's a different debate. But doing it through controlling of me and my decisions, claiming that I'm a carbon footprint that needs to be squashed, that's not going to happen.
Here in California, they're imposing emission limits and electric vehicle that's being imposed by the government. I mean, you say the power's in the people. What can the people do?
Well, they leave California. I mean, seriously, vote with your feet. Get out of here. I mean, if this is the way they want to go, there's alternatives. So, there's going to be competing systems. Thank you.